just always fantastic. And want to echo our FEA president, Mrs. Caseman, on wishing everybody, happy holidays and Christmas, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, and whatever they celebrate here, and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank our community as a whole for the over 68% and the large turnout, more than 1,000 more than we had, than we had at the regular vote. So a really good turnout considering the time of the year. And I think, I'm not sure if I was reading the tea leaves from us right, that we had a sense overall that the community wanted this and supported it, but perhaps the day of we had some doubts whether it was going to fly, and the community spoke very loudly. So it was great, and to me that says indeed the words I hope you've not just coined them, but patented, trademarked, Fairport Forward, right? That for 2020 is, there's this looking to be a good 2020, I think, and starting off with an excellent vote. So thank you to our community for the support and letting us know their wishes over the last several years as we've reached out many times in terms of creating our long-term plan and sticking to that plan. And I'm excited that we can stay on that path with the approval of that bond vote. So with that, Brett, I will give the time to you for the superintendent's report. And it's all in board docs as well, if you don't have to move necessarily.
Off he goes.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Ariel, it is now in board docs at the last minute. I really appreciate that. Each month I come up here and I talk about, the joy and wonder that's occurring in our schools, and I truly believe that I fall short every month of trying to express how much is happening and how much the board's inspiring vision is played out in our schools in so many different ways. And this month's no different, but I continue to express my gratitude and our appreciation for the depth of our programming, your commitment to whole child programming. As we enter the new decade, that's kind of weird to think about. This is a joyous time of celebration. We have much to celebrate here. I wish everybody a happy holiday, and may you find peace and comfort with your families and friends, and as we celebrate the new beginnings of a new year. As we start the new year, we'll continue our conversation on resilience. On Tuesday, January 14th, right here, from 6:30 to 8. This is just hot off the presses. I just learned about this afternoon. It follows up to our conversation of resilience, and how do you build resilience in our students? How do we make sure that we're giving them opportunities to experience so many different things in our schools, so they have competency, confidence. I won't say all of them, Kevin, because I know we don't like the C's, but all those pieces that we've been talking about that make us, students, individuals who achieve their best version of themselves. So we'll be hearing more about this as we move forward. It's the follow-up of our work with Dr. Ginsberg, led by Deb Miles, who is our Student Services Director. As we were talking about, our facilities planning initiatives, it's really neat to be able to check these off. They're tangible items on the strategic initiatives that we're experiencing. We're moving our strategic plan forward relative to facilities planning, and there was, a pretty positive feeling tone with the results. Proposition 1 was the capital improvement project. Over 2,069 voters said yes. 963 said no. And there was a 68% approval rating. Proposition 2, which was about district reserves, and that speaks to future endeavors. This will be a capital reserve that will be able to establish up to $15 million. And we received 72% approval rating with this particular proposition, and it speaks to everybody's interest in making sure that we use reserves, that we're careful and thoughtful with our future planning, and those reserves will be used to offset future potential projects as we move forward. We appreciate the community's support here as well. How we communicated with the community, there was one piece continually amazes me is, and I won't go through the entire list. You have it in front of you, but the amount of communication, I felt, we dedicated a lot amount of time and resources, but we still need to find different ways to do it as well. As community members have told us throughout the processes, and how can we learn more sooner and be involved in the process. We continue to see that Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube were powerful ways to communicate with the community. We used our regular means of newsletters and our principals e-news and board meetings and workshops. And again, the list is abundant, but we will continue to work hard at where we fell short as we move forward. 405 people completed an exit survey. This represents 13% of the number of voters. Themes from the survey, and we're focusing on how we can improve. We didn't pick up, and talk about the things that we're celebrating or the way people were excited about the project, but these were just areas where, where we can improve or we can reflect upon. People were wondering, should the project have been itemized instead of having an all or nothing proposal? We got some feedback about the timing. Why was this vote in December instead of May? There seemed to be a thought that we were just focusing on athletics, too much money being spent for the athletic fields, concern for artificial turf due to environmental or impact health and safety concerns. There's too much focus on athletics and not enough on academics. Again, those are the themes that continually came up. Voters commented that taxes are too high. There's too much money being spent, and there is a mismanagement of money. And I know that these are ideas that the board wants us to continue to talk about and be responsive or accountable to as we move forward. But it's worth noting that these survey results are read and taken very seriously, and we'll continue to develop them as we move forward. Yes.
Was there any positive comments? I mean, interesting.
Yeah,
68% approved it, but then.
Well, so that's my point. Ultimately, like initially when I said 68% of the community approved it, and that speaks to their excitement about the technology and science rooms. It speaks to their interest in safety and security. It speaks to their interest in infrastructure, making sure that we're managing our infrastructure and the athletic fields of making sure that we're giving our students the opportunity to have access to quality facilities. So when you take a look at the project as a whole, 68% endorsed those main ideas. And if we had the whole comments up there, you would see themes of, we need to continue to develop. We need to make sure that we're communicating what needs to come next. People were excited about phase 2. But as I'm saying, this is where I want to focus on, lots to celebrate, but I do want to do better and make sure that we're heeding the input that we're getting and taking those, that feedback seriously, as I know all you do as well. So.
And I don't know if I finished reading comments early this morning. I don't know how many else have read through them, right, Joyce? I know you were reading through them, if you completed them. Because you're right, there were plenty of positive comments, so he's, right,
One in particular.
which is good, and obviously 68%. It has made me wonder to the degree we don't send out a postcard to let people know. At some point, it becomes your responsibility to become informed, and here's the different ways you can subscribe so that you'll be made aware, right? That's what our postcard says, subscribe. If you don't take those steps, I'm not want to say we're washing our hands, but I don't know how far we can keep going. Someone joked we could ask the superintendent to knock on every door in the community, but that you'll probably miss them on a day, and then they'll say, you never knocked on my door, right?
And then they say, why are you knocking on my door?
So when it comes to the media, we submit our press releases, and they are the ones who choose to run it or not.
Right.
So we don't have control over whether the TV stations, the radio, and the paper actually will take our information and create a story out of it.
I don't know that there's been a bigger effort than there was this time to be as open about what was going on. I could be wrong, I don't know that, but I think at least in my time, there hasn't. And at what point do we have to say, people, if you want to be informed, you need to take at least these types of steps and subscribe to one of these lists on your list there, right? And get an email, get a Twitter, or tweet, whatever it's called. Be on Facebook, do something so that you're made aware as these things come up. but I appreciate you focusing on it. I've been thinking a lot about it. I read all those comments, and I'm wondering,
What more could we do?
what more could we have done? And I don't know that there's much more. I thought that every effort was made. And I could be wrong, but I just think we've made as big of effort as ever been made, which is, to me, what 68% also says.
Well, more people voted for this than vote for the.
Yep,
annual
we usually get about
budget.
Voted for
2,000,
us.
we got 1,000,
Right.
we got 1,000 extra voters, as we usually do. So there was a lot of interest. We had more interaction throughout this process, particularly in the summer, where there was interested stakeholders coming and giving us feedback.
Well, I would say, Brett, that it really goes back to the initial phases of the project, and that was the DAC, right? We had over 1,000 community members involved, and the survey went out with 3,000 people responding. So there's been a lot of build-up to this election and a lot of community involvement in putting the proposal together and setting the priorities for it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a great job. I think, we can learn from this, right? And there are probably ways that we can advertise. I imagine something has to do with Wegmans here that we can do. But, we can do better. We can always do better. So it's good to learn. But I think we have a lot to feel good about as well.
Well, there's also public access TV. I mean, I don't know how many people watch that, but it does exist, so.
As many as watching us right now.
Yeah, right.
What's the
Okay.
numbers
I
at?
think that'd be one.
That's,
me.
Oh, we got 3 or 4.
there you go. It's 3 or 4
No,
more.
but if you look at the videos you put on YouTube, there was, 3,000 people watched that YouTube video on YouTube. So I think that it's just using different venues to communicate, whether social media or YouTube or the commentator newsletters. I think there's, maybe we can have some different public forums and maybe host those in
So-
different places.
So we have more work to do.
Yeah.
We have more communication to do. I know that you want to make sure that, I know you do. We've talked about, the board as a collective expectation of getting our message out, getting our story out. And this data speaks to me in those terms, because I can go point for point and try to defend it. But I feel like we can continue to be planful and intentional, and this might be helpful. And I know that you would reiterate that, so. Two questions that continually came up on voting day was, why did the district hold the vote in December instead of May? And very intentional, and again, we talked about this throughout the summer. Voting in December allows additional time for design work to take place, an effort to bid the project sooner and begin construction one summer earlier. It helps our timeline. It helps with the cost of the projects, because project and dollars escalate between those time periods as well. And, waiting around when we knew which way we were going, because we've had studied it for the past 2 years, it felt really natural for this to occur. And how does SED guarantee the aid for capital improvement projects? This continually came up the last week and a half. We will follow the related New York State building aid process. We have Mr. Stevens, who's a steward to the steps that need to take place to make sure that we're presenting our project. New York State will appropriate related building aid from SED-approved projects throughout the entire state. This happens yearly, and districts count on this process. And from experience, again, there are never guarantees, but from experience, SED and New York State have paid related building aid as approved. And if that doesn't happen, there might be bigger problems that, we'll all be concerned with as well. But, this system has worked. It's a system that all of our school districts are going through. So if this would not work, or if it failed, there'd be, lots of issues on the horizon. So those were 2 questions that we're going to continue to place on our frequently asked questions on our website, which speaks to what Damon was speaking about, our analytics. 4 videos and 4 content pieces were distributed throughout Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It was exciting to be, on the social media network representing the project. This number is astonishing: 372,000 impressions, with nearly 5,500 website clicks and over 27,000 video views. Right. So the message was getting out there. We were taking advantage of the gifts of social media, did our best to communicate concisely with our content pieces and our videos. Our efforts drove 60% of all web traffic to the website from September to December, more than doubling awareness with specific focus on the last 2 months leading up to the vote. So there was a concentrated effort. People were touching it, and that feels good too, to speak to what Mr. Buffum was speaking to.
And the 27,000 video views was not famous. Reviewing, clicking.
But you never know.
I memorized it by heart.
And again, here's just more analytics. The first video, because it was up there the longest, 72,000 impressions. Video 2 was 29,000 impressions. Again, you see the playthroughs. And video 4 was the fiscal piece. I think by that time, they were Fairport forwarded out, and they got the message. But it was great to see that people were looking at the videos and seeing it as a way to be informed. Want to spring forward a real positive way to end the school year. We talk about, or not the school year, the calendar year. We talk about how do we connect students to the schools? How do we connect them so they could be the best version of themselves? We have an incredible list of course offerings here. Just our content areas of family and consumer science, music, art, technology, English, business, social studies, math, science, health, world languages, and of course our partnership with EMCC. So it goes beyond the core discipline classes. We want students to experience school, experience learning so they can discover themselves and be the best version of themselves. You'll see that in our middle schools, in addition to our special areas, all students are taking those art, technology, family and consumer science classes. They're also enrolled in choir, band, and orchestra. 390 students are enrolled at Martha Brown, and 305 students are enrolled at JP. Minerva DeLand has 15 offerings with approximately 1,200 students enrolled in those offerings. Fairport High School has more than 80 offerings. With EMC, students have more than 115 to choose from. So if you add our BOCES partnership, that adds to the 80 that we give. 3,700 students enrolled in all sections, if you include FHS and EMCC. So that means students are enrolled in multiple different courses. But
question about the middle school.
Yes.
I noticed that they have 30 weeks of music, 30 weeks of facts, 40 weeks of tech, but only 20 weeks of art.
It's relative to the New York State SED requirement. So, we follow the regulations.
We need to implement and get more art in the middle schools because that's not balanced.
They're still seeing, there might be an error in that, they're still seeing.
Art 10 weeks in 8th grade, art 10 weeks in 6th, but everything else adds up to 30.
Okay. All right, I'll double check that. But because when we did change it, it didn't take away art offerings.
It's supposed to add up to 40 weeks. The 6th grade doesn't add up to, it does add up, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'll double check.
Seems like we had more art, I thought at the time. but-
There was. There's a,
We have 30
maybe-
weeks throughout the 3 years, but that doesn't show it here.
Miss Wheeler, will you be able to help us with that? Yep. Thank you for that. Here's a video that was recently made that sort of celebrates and talks about the importance of special areas in our schools. And that concludes my...
We're fortunate at Fairport in our district to have a large variety of different courses and electives that our students can enroll in. We have over 85 courses offered here at the high school, in addition to different vocational programs offered through Monroe BOCES 1. And I think it really provides our students with the opportunity to not only explore potential jobs or careers, college majors, but also for the potential for a lot of self-exploration of strengths and interests. Our elective classes are able to meet students where they are. These courses are able to cultivate students' interests, strengths, and special areas. These courses help students to build skills such as creativity, drive, passion, self-esteem. So electives support the learning that's taking place in the core subjects. Many of our courses incorporate math, writing, reading skills that kids are able to use in a topic that they've chosen.
Being able to choose my classes helps me experience a great time at Fairport. It helps me be able to pick my own future.
When we have a lot of opportunities for our students, we get a vast variety of talents that can shine. They can sometimes be exposed to things that they never would have thought about. So if their friend is interested in technology or music, they may attend a concert or they may go to an event that could also pique their interest as well.
College is an expensive venture, and our electives give students the option to explore careers instead of choosing a major that may not be of interest to them.
I like English and math. They're like fun and educational, but I also like art and music.
These classes help me connect with my school community because I get to meet a lot of teachers and bond with many, many teachers who I normally wouldn't if I didn't take these classes.
So when we're talking about meeting the needs of the whole child, we are not just trying to meet the needs cognitively of our students, but we also need to think about their social needs, their emotional needs, their creative needs.
I think that our elective courses provide the opportunity for students to gain self-awareness, not only in their strengths, their abilities, their interests, but also I think it provides for the development of attributes that aren't necessarily taught in a standard curriculum.
Our fashion retail merchandising class, Mrs. Nichols took a tour of their store and we got to see all the behind-the-scenes operations and things like that, which is really interesting. And I loved it so much that I had never shopped there before that I went home that day and applied for a job online. And so I ended up getting that job, and we work on commission, so it's introducing me to working in that kind of setting and selling things, and I want to go into real estate, so it's really nice.
There's a lot to learn, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to have fun with, and overall it's just a great experience and I enjoy every second.
With all the elective classes and extra opportunities, it's able for me to connect with some more teachers and friends and being able to come closer with the Fairport community.
Thank you, Fairport Board of Education.
Thank you, Brett. Any comments before we move on to our treasure and investment report? Nothing, Mr. Stevens.
Okay, good evening and thank you. Tonight we have the treasurer's report for the month of October 2019. We had a beginning general fund cash balance of $43.9 million, receipts during the month of $58.6 million, disbursements of $13.1 for an ending cash balance of $89.4 million. Of the 89.4, approximately 81.4 is invested in the variation of the T-bills, insured cash sweep, and CDs for about 91% of the cash overall. Overall trending around the same as prior year, right on track, expense revenues as a whole for the month of October. And you will note during October, there is a $1.5 million BOCES aid payment. Key to note that that is actually prior year aid. So again, cash flow is important in terms of revenues at the state level that we get aid that's actually booked as revenue from prior year that's received in October of current year. And then our tax money, you can see, is the large piece in October.
And there's one more of those, correct? That will be coming in because there's a third payment in November.
Smaller payment in November. There won't be as much.
From the tax?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So probably one more, maybe a couple more payments.
I know the residents have the ability to pay it over three payments, and the last one is paid on November 15th.
Third installment actually, I believe, gets turned over to the county, so they pay that third installment to the county.
Okay.
And they come that way.
Thank you.
It's part of the report that for the uncollected taxes on the last board meeting that we had the uncollected taxes, and a portion of that was installments turned over.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And that trended about the same size, uncollected, what's turned over to the county, was that roughly?
Yes.
About
Yep,
the same
it did.
percentage, yeah.
Mhm.
So, no different than other years.
Nope.
And that's April, right? Do you remind us again? That
April,
they turned that
correct.
over to us? Yep.
In April, correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments about the report? Finance, people very exciting. Okay. Approval of the consent calendar. We have various minutes, including our project vote minutes officially in there, but this, not up for discussion, so if there's any piece you want here, you'd have to make a motion to have it removed. Otherwise, a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Tim, second. Damon? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. Okay, we have 2 donations here, sizable. Right, the first one, Green Bay Packers Art Contest, right, we recognized a student, I believe, in a prior meeting, but this is we have received $5,000, right, for this art contest to go to JP. So a motion to accept that donation. Judy first, second. Joyce? Questions, comments?
Amelia had a great time when she went to Green Bay to the football stadium to see her artwork, which has been on display all season. And she said it was just an amazing thing to see.
I bet it was for her. That
Do
was
we have any pictures of that?
She did have some. I could ask for her. Yeah.
All right, okay.
But I will say this again, but she's in 7th grade, so she doesn't have art this year. Sorry. It's the truth.
You're allowed to pontificate here.
That's right.
But such a generous thing for her to donate this to, so that it funds art projects for her and her classmates.
That's right.
Very, very kind.
Right, so many thanks from all of us here, though. Appreciate it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that's good. 7-0, okay. And then the second one, from the Fairport Parent and Merchants Association, a $10,000 gift. We have a gentleman here to, I guess we can thank personally Mr. Ed Bradford is here. Will you please?
Thank you.
Like to recognize you. Thank you so much for the efforts. I think our understanding was that most revenue from this came from Canal Days, and
That's correct. It's $10,000 for 3 years.
Oh,
right.
great, thank you.
Well, thank you.
This year was the first installment.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so very much.
And that is going to be used for our scoreboard in the
That's
high school gym.
towards that scoreboard that is
Which
being
is-
showcased right
yes,
now
yeah.
as the girls are playing basketball right now, so.
And Ed, if you could please relay our thanks to the rest of your board, and I thank you for being so involved with the Merchants Association for the countless years that you've been involved. 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
20 years,
Thank
all
you.
on the finance committee, or?
Yeah, I've served different roles, president
Yeah.
and treasurer of the Merchants Association, sit on the finance committee, and I'm the current chairman nowadays.
Right, which is a big undertaking.
It starts
And
the,
that's all volunteer.
yeah, and it starts the day after Canal Days.
Yeah, especially, we can't wait to see what you have up for next year with that bridge, right?
It's
Yeah,
good.
right.
But again, thank you for all the time and energy you've put toward our community.
Very
It's
proud to be able to do this. and hopefully
much
it's
appreciated.
The beginning of
Mhm.
many more donations.
Yeah, great.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thanks.
Very generous, thank you.
Appreciate the generosity, and from the beginning of at least coming onto the board, people have encouraged us to strengthen our ties with, the village and the town, and I think this is a good indication. Hopefully, we're being successful, both directions, right? And
Mhm.
so again, Ed, thank you so very much. Thanks for being here tonight. So I don't know if I ever officially took the motion, right? Motion to accept. Judy, second. Marty? All in favor?
Aye.
7-0. I won't even ask for the other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, personnel actions, 6A on the agenda. So first, we have instructional action items. Obviously, different time of the year, not quite as long as we have early in the year. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Damon first, Marty second. Questions or comments? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. The addendum. So you have, I think you have that in paper. If not, it's attached, right, for
Mhm.
civil service staff action. This is for Aaron Smith, right, Director of Facilities 2. It's the addendum. Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
first Tim, second Joyce. Questions?
So he's going to start in January, give him a couple of months to overlap with Ross?
Correct.
Good, that's great.
Having sat on the committee, one of the committees that was involved with the hiring of this, to fill this position, we were very impressed with the quality of the candidates that we worked with. All of the candidates I was involved with were very strong candidates, and I think Aaron will be a great asset to our community.
Great.
So January 21st, right, the addendum says, so.
Go for it. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to send Aaron's apologies. You know, they've got actually a capital project vote tonight in HFL. So he is spending his time there, but he did want to let the board and administration, know that he truly appreciates everything, so.
My vote was wavering, so. No. Just kidding, okay. Thank you. That's good dedication, because I'm sure they want their vote to pass like ours did. So, very good. Any other comments, or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Athletics. Motion to approve.
Move.
Marty. Second, Tim. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Non-instructional and civil service. Did we do that out of order? I suppose the other one. Anyway, the rest of the non-instructional civil service. D, motion to approve. Marty, second. Kevin? A little bit longer list. Any questions or comments?
Doug, I see there's a couple of bus drivers on here. How's that going?
Yay, we got a couple bus drivers.
I mean, are we still short?
Well, we're always short.
Yes, we are still short, along with many of our counterparts and folks across the nation. So we're looking at doing some things after the first of the year, potentially job fair, things like that.
Okay.
Doug, with our contracting out to the, I believe, First Student and the other school bus company that we deal with, has that allowed us to continue our regular service?
Yes.
So hiring these 2 or 3 extra bus drivers actually is helping us a little bit with our contracting? I mean, we've got the contract, so we're just building ours up a little bit, and the contracting is still allowing us to continue our
ultimately,
service.
we'd like to be fully staffed with our own drivers.
Correct.
And I think Matt probably has something to add.
Yeah, I mean, what it really does is it helps keep our head drivers and dispatchers back in the office to actually receive the phone calls and some of those pieces, but they're still putting in the time out there for the runs. It's still, it's being balanced by the
But
department.
it has taken a little bit of a...
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit off, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything helps, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. And finally, under personnel actions, we have memorandum of agreement with FEA regarding APPR. You have the memo there and the administrative content. Motion to approve or accept? Tim first, second Marty. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? 7-0. So board discussion and action items. We have our policy first read. Getting these back in regularly. So motion to approve the first reading. Was that Damon? Sorry, I saw that according to my eye. No? Who made the motion then? Hey, Joyce, thank you. Second, Kevin. Any questions about these?
I did have one sort of observation about 6150, the comprehensive. I look at Joyce, but it says here explicitly alcohol, tobacco, drugs, and I think one of the board prohibits staff consuming, sharing, selling, using, or possessing illegal drugs. And I just thought we could be legalizing drugs at some point, right? So when we specify illegal drugs, I mean, is that too narrow of a category?
Well, we have to say that because people can consume legal drugs if they have medications at the nurse's office or whatever.
But I think about when when or if they legalize marijuana, right?
We'll change the policy
Yeah,
somehow,
right.
we'll get law,
Yep.
and our
Right.
attorneys will tell us how to
And
tweak it.
Is in regards to anything smoking, you're not allowed to smoke on premises, so.
But I mean, you don't have to
There are-
smoke.
Right, what I'm saying, there are other ways to consume
I
it,
think,
but.
I think Joyce said it perfectly, is if that day does come, there'll be a policy, lots of work around the state with everybody's policy.
And we'll just follow the law, which is what we have to do, so our policy will reflect the law.
Okay. Sometimes I think, yeah, I mean, it's fine, but you can get so narrow that it, and there's so many technical curveballs, if you will. So, anyway, okay.
But it is about the legal versus
Yep.
illegal, and staff can certainly take legal, drugs and whatever, so.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Anything else, first reading, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. Second reading, ones we saw, I think, generally last month. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Tim first, Judy second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Audit and Finance Committee Charter, need a motion to adopt the charter as
Moved.
revised. First, Tim, second, Marty. Any questions, or anybody on the Audit Finance Committee want to make comments about it, update them? I'm happy to do it.
That was
but-
a good session that we had there.
Yeah. You knew we had made this committee, but we never updated the charter. We went through a year and a half perhaps, and thought, okay, now I think we felt like we had our wings about us, and these are the recommendations we put forth to the rest of the board. No questions, comments? I take that as a good thing. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. And then the cooperative participation agreement for dental plan administration, we see this annually, right? So it's annual, right? It's motion to approve the renewal. Marty, second. Judy? Questions or comments? No? All in favor?
No, you
Aye.
didn't give me a chance.
Oh, I was speeding through. I saw you.
I'm doing my best to stretch this meeting out. So, but I know, Matt, can you, I know, I probably ask this every year, but can you just give a broad 30-second update of what this plan is, or Doug? Is this us participating in a consortium to get dental health through
Yeah.
BOCES or something?
So in the county, it's, if you can see, it's RASDP, Rochester Area Schools Dental Plan. So we're part of a cooperative in the county. This is really approving the administrative fee portion. The plan itself is self-funded.
Okay.
So we pay as claims take place on a monthly basis, and then we have the appropriate rates set as well for premium rates.
All right. And this is participation by all of Monroe County schools, or what's the
I don't
group?
know if it's every single one, but it's a majority of folks are in this
Okay.
plan,
All
yeah.
right, great. All right, thanks. I'll ask you again next year.
Stand up first.
Yeah, I can do that. So,
9-cent increase. Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? 7-0. So, motion to accept the FASAPA agreement. Damon first, Marty second. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. 7-0.
Great work, thank you.
School-sponsored field trips. Motion to approve.
moved.
First, Tim.
Just the
Yeah.
one.
Second, Joyce. Questions about just the one or comments? No?
I guess people just, when they're in school in January, they just don't want to leave. It's too cold.
It's cold outside. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Textbook approval.
Moved.
First, Tim, second. Judy, sorry. Questions or comments? I
This
saw a
is-
deep breath over there.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
it looked awesome,
Yeah, it sounded good.
yeah. Is there an audio version? Right.
Well, actually, there is an electronic
Yeah.
version, that's required.
Yeah, right. Okay. This is for AP American Lit? Okay. Great.
It's interesting, I've never seen rhetoric as part of, language culture. That's the usual. Rhetoric is an unusual part of it.
I think it speaks to what we're trying to get at as a district too, is to be critical, thoughtful, and use discernment.
Yeah, it's great.
Are we seeing a change in textbook content in light of all the societal issues that are coming to head in the past couple of years?
Yes, so in each department differently, but the English department is actively pursuing more culturally responsive, and culturally diverse texts. They piloted a program for us this summer, I think it was at the 10th grade level, and we're actively seeking to review our canon and at every level.
Also, more diverse authors as well? As best we can, right.
Yeah, we're just in the beginning stages of that. I know Ellery will be coming to talk with you soon. I think she's in the audience.
Yes.
And we'll be talking with you soon about the beginnings of that work and where we see that going forward. But yes, it is an intentional effort on our part.
Great.
And this isn't a replacement of a text, so this is an addition to their current text.
Well, they do currently have a text.
Okay, just because that looks
You
sizable.
should see their other text.
This is just volume
More,
one
more.
of.
Oh, I
I
see.
think it's important to note this is an advanced, an AP course.
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, I'm just looking at the contents, table of contents, an introduction to rhetoric, using available means, understanding civil discourse. And this is so important, right? For people to be able to have civil discourse, but understand what's real, what available means or authentic means are. It's really, really good. So that's great. Good.
Our students will be so excited.
I think, but I also, like I said, it's symbolic. I think people are hearing, and they appreciate the vision and latitude that you've given to explore these ideas.
Well, I'm just thrilled that you're still buying books and not just buying the electronic version, because to hold a book is very important.
We get both.
Oh, I know, but it's, you're still getting all the different things.
And I think, important to note that the English department, especially at their tests, is really taking a deep dive into their tests.
Great, thank you.
Our first team is
I may have to borrow that and read it, or at least skim through some of it.
In your spare time. Yeah.
Retired spare time.
It's a wonderful way to live.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. All in favor? Anybody? Joyce?
Aye.
Kevin? No?
Voting.
In favor, yes?
Aye.
We're whispering among ourselves.
5-0, 2 abstentions, or, sorry. 7-0. Next three, I hope, well, I'm excited about the next three. I don't want to mean I wasn't excited about the other things, but these are great extra classroom activities. Reason we can't do these all together as one vote, though? We have to do them separate? We will, because they're on the agenda. I'm just wondering for the future, right? But, so the first one for the Sports Fan Club. Motion to approve this new club. Kevin, second. Judy?
Can I be the board advisor to that club?
It's not a Yankees fan club, it's sports fans in general. All
But
in,
for someone who had never gone to a football game, that was a very exciting sounding club.
there you go.
Now we can vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0 for the second club, ASL.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I loved it. My daughter had set her own goal
So
this
moved.
summer to learn ASL on her own, and now there's a club maybe to help her on that.
I was listening to a news, so moved.
So, thank you first.
Yep.
Second, Joyce?
That Rochester has the highest per capita hearing impaired in the country due to NTID and the Rochester School for the Deaf. I mean, we have a very, very vibrant hearing impaired culture here, and ASL is a wonderful thing to learn.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. And the final new club is for Girls on Fire. It's a club we have, but being spread to new grade levels, right, Martha Brown? So, motion to approve that club. Marty first, Joyce second. Comments, questions?
There was one question I noticed that the superintendent's approval was not done in this particular one.
You holding out on us?
Really?
Yeah.
It doesn't have your signature.
It doesn't have the,
Yeah.
it doesn't have
Yeah.
the signature,
Oh
so
my gosh.
is that okay that we,
It's terrible. I gotta sign that.
right?
Definitely not.
Isn't that a touch screen? Just sign the document. Okay. No pressure, Brett.
I don't know how that happened.
You know, I loved the description of the club and having the younger girls mentor, or the older
Yes.
girls mentor the
Isn't that
young
cool?
ones
Yep.
coming
That's
up.
so
It
cool.
sounded
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Both middle schools.
Mhm.
With your approval now.
But the connections across schools, always great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. And finally, in this section, appointment of a central treasurer for extra classroom activities or funds at Brooks Hill specifically. Just a change of personnel. Motion to approve. Moved. First, Tim, second, Marty. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
7-0. That brings us to the end. So before executive session, does anybody else want to make comments?
Just, it has been a great month, very, very exciting, really a lot of gratitude for the community and the staff and the kids around everything that happens in the schools. The visits have been awesome, and then the vote in the community was really gratifying as well. So it's exciting to think about the things that were just approved are going to impact Fairport for decades to come, and it's very important. So.
And I think it's important also to point out that, you know, we're pleased with the direction we're going. We're happy that the community really supports the work that's being done, and they also support the 7 of us who they voted to put in these positions. But I think it's also important to know that there are some people who did not vote for this, but we are listening to you. And we do take your comments seriously, and we do use those to help build other plans and other projects that your energies and your opinions are not going unheard.
No, I think the dialogue is fantastic, and I think that, you know, we looked on social media and we talked about this the other day. You know, not everybody was for this, for valid reasons, right? And, you know, for themselves, their own context. But the dialogue that was happening around this is why it's important, this is why I am supporting, this is why I'm not supporting, it was really awesome. And I think that it's that having that open flow of information and sharing ideas that's really positive. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we want to encourage.
And I think it's important also that the community knows that they can reach out to any of us. I've met with 3 different people at Brugger's and discussed this and some other
I
options.
send everybody
and
to you.
I know,
honestly, so.
and it's fine, because I have more time on my hands?
Yeah, right.
But it's very important that the community understands that we are elected by you, and we represent the whole community, and we do listen to as many people as we can, but please reach out to us.
Yep. In the theme of just having open conversation, I'm troubled in a sense behind what Bill talked about tonight with the DNC article and the Black Eye for Fairport, because I know that the focus we have around equity and access and diversity on the board, and I, you know, it troubles me that we could have a black eye, because I know it's just an imperative for us. But I'm not saying we're perfect. I think that maybe there's, you know, I recognize that there may be blind spots that we have that we're not aware of, we're not thinking about, but I do think that we should dig inside that, and you know, it's just, you know, it's a little difficult to hear that, given the efforts that we're making around diversity and equality. And again, I know we're not perfect, but.
Well, it'd be interesting to see inflows versus outflows.
Well,
Students.
right, well,
I'm
it's.
sure we have students that come from Rochester to.
But that data is incomplete, because inflows versus outflows happen for many, many reasons, not
Exactly.
just schools.
Right.
Right, so.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And there's also-
That's the
I
point.
think we should remember that the perceived black eye comes from our lack of response.
Right.
And I don't know that we have the right to respond and reveal information about our students.
Right.
That
Right.
should not be public.
Right, I mean, I think it's
So
just,
that's-
you can just look at move-ins and move-outs. but there's just a context of life
And-
that's behind that, right?
And you have to remember, too, that a move-out could be a family with 4 kids, and there's 4 children
Right.
moving out. So it's
And-
one family,
right.
and it's not suddenly we've got 4 different families moving out. It's,
Right.
and as
But he also-
the information
yeah.
showed, it went from 25 to 23 down to
Plus
13.
plus the presumption is that we are dumping kids on the RCSD system.
Correct.
And that's the, that's the beginning statement, that's the bottom line. I don't know that to be true.
Well, it's blatantly false.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
As-
But still, there's,
so you start out as a hit piece.
Right.
Actually.
But there's something behind those move-outs back to the city, whether it's socioeconomic or health or whatever reasons, they're just moving out. But then, and he did point this out, we do have hundreds of urban, suburban kids coming into the district, right? That, we don't really talk about that either, but it's, what I'm saying? So but it's not just a math game, move in, move out. There's context behind
Correct.
all of that, right?
Correct.
And I agree with you that I'm not sure that we should respond, because then it's like we're defending something that, I'm not really.
There's nothing to defend. I will challenge whether, there's a black guy. There might be a black guy in the eyes of 3 or 4 people who are also trying to make it blacker for no reason whatsoever. I think there's nothing here to pursue. We have a long-term plan, we stick to it. This is a distraction, I would call it, potentially, because it is blatantly false. Never have I heard anybody on this board or anybody from the staff ask, what are we doing to make life difficult so they want to move out of our district? And that's what was in the article. What are we doing to make it expensive so they don't want to come here? We've never asked that question. How expensive is it to educate students?
The article was more focused on students with special needs that are being pushed into the city because we weren't going to be working with those students, and that was totally blatantly false.
Blatantly false.
Speaking with Bill, as I've known Bill for many years, in our last conversation, we really focused on, as he said, 60 kids over 3 years, that's not a lot when you have 5,600 students in your district. And I said, you're right. I said, I think the bigger problem is, Bill, is our housing stock and the fact that we, as a community, but developers, they're building $400,000 and $500,000 houses and $300,000 houses, and it's all senior housing. That's the big push right now, is senior housing, and that's a community. That's not a school district. That's the greater community. And I believe it was either Brett or Peter this evening said, school district, village, and town really need to start working more closely together and being able to allow people with various means. I've had students in the past that have moved to the city because their parents have a job in the city and they don't have a car, and the busing out here is terrible.
Yeah.
They just can't get back and forth to work. It just doesn't work. So they moved closer to their jobs. And that was a valid reason.
Tim, last year, we actually commissioned a group out of Vermont to come in and look at enrollment trends over the years, and he talked about socioeconomics and age and ethnic backgrounds of the community. And one of the things that he brought up, I remember in particular, was the zoning laws that we have in Fairport and Perrington, that a lot size has to be a certain size, and it can't be smaller. Well, therefore, if your lot size has to be this size, the taxes on that are going to be this amount, which is unaffordable by a lot of people.
And I do know that both in the village and the town, especially when a development is coming in, and developments aren't coming in anymore because we don't have large tracts of land, but the town will ease those zoning laws, saying, okay, instead of a house every half acre, we'll allow a house every third acre, so 3 houses per acre instead of 2, because you're going to give us X number of acres for green space. And they've done a lot of that swapping, so that does help the situation, but still,
Right.
the developers, they want to start at $250,000, $300,000.
So,
look at the condominiums that we built in the village. They started at $350,000.
So he did have a good suggestion about making the FOIL process a little bit more
Absolutely.
transparent. But I will say, that Ariel, thank you very much for being so responsive. And, the fact is, we have nothing to hide, right? So if you make a FOIL request, we're going to get you the information, and we were allowed 10 days, and you got it to them in 2, and that was great. So, again, I was just sort of dismayed by the article and the implication that we would somehow systematically be pushing kids back into the city. That's just so far away from the truth.
I'm just dismayed that it's believed hook, line, and sinker, that there's not critical thinking around that article.
Yep.
That data set was so limited, and the accusation so atrocious from a very limited data set. It was inappropriate on the DNC, but it's inappropriate for me that people were believing it hook, line, and sinker.
And that was shared with the writer of that article in the summer, that the data didn't make sense and reveal what he was trying to get at, and he chose not to pay mind to that and went forward. And I think that's why maybe he put Fairport in there, because that's what I told him. I said this data doesn't make sense, it doesn't equate to what we're seeing, and the presuppositions that you are making are pretty dangerous in themselves.
And they might also have a checklist. The last negative was to Churchville, and then, well, it's Fairport's term to have a negative, who knows? Who knows?
I'm gonna tweet him and tell him what a loser he is.
Hot mic, hot mic.
Hot mic. That's right. We talked about you tonight. Anyway, thank you for the conversation, and I just sort of had to get, vent that a little bit. So,
Anybody else? Happy holidays to everyone.
Hold on now. It's not even 8 o'clock. We can stretch this out.
We have executive session still, okay? And there are two purposes of the executive session. We have no plans to make any votes or decisions afterwards, so we will come out of executive session and adjourn immediately.
So moved to go into executive session?
First, Tim. Second, Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.